And now to end the evening, we're going to close with a story. Please welcome Scotto Moore.
In early July, the subject became aware of a fundamentally unnerving phenomenon. Videos of her morning walk to work were appearing each day on YouTube. It was first-person footage from her own eyes. She recognized the places that she passed each morning, her face and reflections on glass. The files were labeled sequentially in a series called Sarah's Walk to Work. By the time she became aware of these files, many had already been tagged, rated, commented on, and identified as favorites by an entire community of users. Reviews of her morning walk to work ranged from enthusiastic to harshly critical to strangely cryptic, but no one thought these videos out of the ordinary. She was an exciting new channel for them to enjoy. The files picked up her morning routine approximately 45 minutes after her alarm went off, no matter what time that was, and ended abruptly at YouTube's imposed 10-minute limit. The files were all posted by a user named Intangible Method. At some point, she thought to pay close attention to the time at which the files were uploaded and came to the relatively startling realization that these files were appearing a full day before the video capture window actually took place. The subject began her own investigation into the phenomenon, changing her morning routine, staying home from work, washing dishes, watching television, to see if the focus of the videos would shift to her new morning activities in her apartment. They did. Users on the site noticed this shift. The comments began to show signs of increasing curiosity and appreciation, as though these developments had been eagerly awaited by the community. Her excitement at receiving these compliments overshadowed her vague concern that these users had been watching her for quite some time now. She attempted to contact the user named Intangible Method, but to her disappointment, he or she did not choose to respond. Now, soon after noticing the first signs of the phenomenon, the subject began receiving regular emails from her live journal informing her that new comments had been posted. The problem was she hadn't realized she'd been publishing a live journal. The entries began at roughly the same time that the YouTube videos had begun appearing and were clearly written by someone who understood her style of writing. Many of the entries were intensely personal in nature, revealing thoughts she hadn't shared with anyone before. Indeed, the comments on the site tended to praise her for her bravery in sharing so much of her inner life with her community, although she did not recognize the usernames of the people in her community. Her Amazon wish list filled up with items she hadn't realized she actually wanted, although they certainly looked cool. Flickr galleries began to spring up, documenting the moments of her life in intricate detail. Although she didn't recognize these moments, she still grew to anticipate the thoughtful praise of others. The phenomenon began to feed upon itself as her expressive finesse was picked up by the digerati, and her ego searches revealed signs of her increased reach and influence as her posts and her videos garnered regular attention all throughout the blogosphere. A turning point in the subject's appreciation of the phenomenon came when she eventually thought to check her instant messenger chat logs and came across a disturbing exchange that she did not recall. Eventually, the subject lost her job after repeated absences due to staying home from work, watching her videos appear, and then surfing related waves of feedback on the net. Comments on the site began to take an ugly turn, wondering when the subject's early promise would be eventually met. She began to grow impatient, waiting for her own posts to appear. And she began posting proactively. Unfortunately, her own expression was brutally ham-fisted and angry. It seemed to please no one. It seemed to not match the personality she'd been cultivating, albeit at a distance. Eventually, someone retaliated to her anger by posting a shameful link to a long-forgotten gallery in an old archive of pornographic photos. She didn't recognize those moments either, but they were clearly her. Now, after her eviction, The subject found access to the internet only sparingly in public libraries for as long as she could stay hidden from the librarians, in internet cafes where patrons had left their terminals open with a few scattered minutes left after leaving. The videos, of course, continued to appear, one right after another, but for some reason, no one seemed to find the sight of her waking up in a park or under a cardboard box or alone on a sidewalk strolling through the lonely morning particularly exciting, and the views dropped from the thousands to the hundreds, eventually to just one, her, whenever she could find access to the internet. Her live journal was eventually deleted due to a preponderance of supposedly inflammatory material. The videos eventually stopped appearing altogether, and her only connection to her former whirlwind life was surfing Google caches for the recognition she once enjoyed. Now, the last known trace of the subject came in the form of a text message which appeared suddenly, inexplicably, on the cell phone of the head researcher, weeks after the subject's last known access to the net. The message read simply, "My body was just an avatar. See you in Second Life." Thank you very much, and good night.
Thank you very much, Scotto.